On this job, did when it opened, did Eric reach out to you? Did you reach out to him first? Kind of how did it come about? How did all that go down?
Well, thanks. It's nice to see everybody. I'm warning everybody right now. It's a tough name. Gus Argenal is a bad name that I got stuck with. So you can mispronounce it 100 times. You can just call me Gus, G, whatever. So I appreciate you having me. And, Bob, I talked to Coach, over the last few years, every week probably. So we talked a lot. The opportunity when it came about, we did talk about it, and obviously Coach had interest in talking to me, and I definitely had a lot of interest in talking to him about the possibility. For me, being able to work again with him and being at Arkansas was something that was really, really special. And obviously our families are extremely close. So it's really been a seamless thing because we talk so much and we're friends. He's not only a mentor, but I think it's something that just kind of came about naturally. So we definitely talked. I would say that I had just as much interest as he did in me, and probably even more. And again, I'm really, really, really lucky to be sitting here. Obviously, I got to get some decorations going here. It's a pretty plain cabinet behind me, but I'm really excited.
Yeah, it looks nice. And if I got my years right, when you were at UTSA, you guys came here and played, I guess, Stan Heath's team and got beat. I was wondering, is that your only time in Fayetteville? And the arena's older, but it's still the same arena. Just wonder what your memories were of that, and if what kind of impression that made on you.
Well, Coach Evans, Rob Evans, was an assistant coach, and that's who gave me my start in coaching at Arizona State. I remember that our game plan was, do not let them get out in transition because the crowd will get into it, and then we're in big trouble. And our guys definitely didn't follow the scouting report, and suddenly we started chucking up threes from the corners, and they got running, and the crowd got into it. And I was amazed by it. I had heard so much about the arena, but also just the fans and how crazy in a good way they were, and bad way for us. And we definitely felt it that night. And I can't wait to see what that's going to be like next year with what we have brewing right now.
I guess that was John Pelfrey's first team. So
it was John Pelfrey, yes. And again, I think Isaac Brown was an assistant maybe at the time as well.
Okay, I got a couple more questions, but I'll turn it back to Mike. Thanks, Gus.
Thanks, Bob.
Curtis?
Hey, Coach. I hope Fayetteville's treating you well so far. I know you and Muss had a lot of success in Nevada, so you're no stranger to the big stage. But to make this move now to come into the SEC, a program fresh off an Elite Eight with high expectations, what does that opportunity mean to you, and what do you hope to accomplish here?
Well, it means the world. I grew up in 5th, 6th grade, putting every newspaper article about the NCAA tournament on my roof, and pinning Razorback articles on, like I said, on my room, just like some of us here that were dreaming of being a part of that. So it's a lifelong dream. I will say this, that in 18-19, we were coming into the season, we were ranked, I think, number 7 preseason at Nevada, and we got as high as number 5, and we were in the top 10 for 16 weeks straight. So the pressure of that, obviously there's a different level here in the SEC on a daily, nightly basis, but the pressure of the expectation and how it builds throughout the season, I've definitely been through some of that. Going to the Sweet 16, we were 1 game away from getting to the Elite Eight, obviously, and Loyola Chicago knocked us off really at the buzzer. And I was able to go through that with Coach and see what each game meant and how the pressure built. But again, we didn't get to that Elite Eight level, but hopefully next year we can get 1 more game past that and get to the Final Four. So I'm excited. I'm definitely used to that. I think that one part of it as well is recruiting the best of the best. We were able to bring in the best recruits that they've ever had at Nevada. And again, I know we're going against the best in the country now, but we were doing that before, and we'll look to keep doing that.
Nate Allen?
Yeah, Gus, I was just curious, having worked for Muss before, because it seems like his energy would be both fascinating but pretty exhausting to work for. And I was wondering, just kind of how do you describe, how it is to work for him?
Well, you got to be fired up every day. And I'll say one thing is, I don't think I lack the passion, the energy level for that. And we've had a long connection, Coach and I. His sons played for the same coach that I played for, my brother played for. But one thing you have to do is you have to try to match that. And I think I said this yesterday, he does more in 1 day or probably in the mid-morning than most of us do in a month. So you have to buckle up and hop on here and be ready to go. But I think the number one thing is understanding that he gives us a blueprint just like his players, the things that he wants done. If you can follow that, he gives you the answers to the test as to what he wants. And as long as you're willing to work and do what he wants, it's a great setup. I think the best thing about him too, and as you guys know, he's a pretty fun guy, and he is not too full of himself. He doesn't really have an ego. So we have a lot of fun in here. There's a lot of laughs. But when it's time to go, when it's 5 minutes before tip off, it's a pretty serious locker room. And again, I'm excited to get back on the practice floor with him, the energy that he brings, the organization. People sometimes say he's a mad scientist, but I would say that he's a defined scientist. He knows exactly what he wants. And I'm excited to keep learning from him and help him moving forward.
How much freedom does he give the assistants as far as doing things? Because as hands-on as he is.
You said that how much freedom, Nate? I'm sorry.
How much freedom does he have? I mean, how much input do you feel assistants have working for him?
I'd say that's the best part about Coach Musselman is from our graduate assistants that sit right across the hallway. He'll take, suggestions, and he'll look at different things and different ways of doing things. I think his ability to adjust coming from the D League, the G League now, and being in the NBA, he allows us to coach a ton. He allows us to have input on our game plans, on our recruiting, on everything we do, how we operate on a day-to-day, our marketing. And that's something exciting for me. I might come up with some crazy ideas for marketing things and, having them jump out of tents back in Nevada and doing all these things with our fans. And so I think he's lessened on some of that. So maybe I'll try to get him to do some more of that stuff. But in terms of the game plan and what we do basketball-wise, he's been phenomenal. But at the end of the day, he knows what he wants. He's been in the biggest moments. He's coached against the best coaches in America and in the NBA in the game. So we follow his lead, but we definitely have a chance to coach. And that's one of the great things about working for him.
Thank you.
Andrew Hutchison.
Hey, Gus, welcome to Arkansas. I know you were in contention for, I think, a couple of head coaching jobs, even to replace coach at Nevada. But did you consider following Muss to Arkansas a couple of years ago when he first got hired?
Yeah, nice to meet you, Andrew. For sure, definitely. And it was a crazy time. It was an unbelievable time, and we had a great run. And I go back to that. It was the timing. I was interviewing for positions, 2 or 3 different positions. I was talking to other schools. Just, again, I always say success gives you a lot of opportunity. And for all of us that have worked for Coach Muss, we have gotten a lot of opportunities because of that. So the timing, yeah, definitely. We talked about it. And just the timing was off. And I think that each year we talk and each month, and this timing was like perfect for us, my family. Obviously, I have a wife and 2 boys that are 11 and 9. And my wife and Danielle are really close. My son, Bo, is actually in Mariah's class. So they're old teammates in basketball and classmates. And then Ace is my youngest one. So we're really close. And yes, I think it's all about timing and everything. And that's why, even having coach here at Arkansas right now, the timing was perfect for him to be here. And so with the timing now, it's perfect.
And looking over your career, it looks like most of it's been spent out on the West Coast. How familiar are you with this part of the country, both, just like in terms of recruiting and things like that?
Well, I was lucky, at a young age, I was able to work at University of Texas, San Antonio for Brooks Thompson. And then I was able to work at Rice for Ben Braun, one of the best college coaches of all time, 500 plus wins. So obviously I've recruited the South, the Midwest, the Northeast, everywhere in the country with Rice. And then I would say this, that Nevada was a time where we recruited everywhere. And I say that, Andrew, like we were in every campus in America, recruiting not only high school student athletes, but transfers. And so when you do that, you don't just go there and recruit the young man, you recruit their entire family, you recruit the AAU programs, the high school programs. So we've recruited everywhere. And again, our roster, if you look at it at Nevada, was filtered with a bunch of different areas, locations, regions, and especially this region as well. Thank you.
John Neighbors. Good. Nikki?
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, Gus. What do you think of the transfers that Coach Muss has already brought in? How big a part of that was your decision to come here and looking at that whole roster?
It's nice to meet you, and thank you. I think that obviously the roster coming back right now, I think that's why there's such an excitement, because not only did they finish off the season with the run that they had, but you capitalize on that with bringing in a great recruiting class. So for me, being able to work with some of the best transfers in America, along with, again, high school student athletes that we have coming in, it's going to be phenomenal. Like I said, I go back to our time in Nevada. That's where I think coach is best, is capitalizing on what you have, the momentum. And right now we're continuing to do that, especially with the young men in our state right now that are coming up the ranks. But I couldn't be more excited. I think we have a group of some NBA talent type players. So again, that's a big, for us, a big responsibility to make sure that we're preparing them, not only for us to be great next year, but for them for the future. And I've connected with all of those guys and slowly building the relationship. And that's the biggest part right now, is for me to hit the ground running with them and starting to build that rapport with them.
Kevin McPherson.
I think I'm mute, Kev.
Gus, good to see you. Welcome to Arkansas.
Thank you so much.
I hear you talking about recruiting. Some of it's been covered, but I just want to go back to it. You're talking a lot about not only balancing transfer portal and high school recruiting, but once they're inside the doors, how do you get with the freshmen and explain to them or tell them, your time's coming, or it may be a little bit slower for you getting the minutes you want relative to these transfers that already have experience? How do you balance and juggle that and work through it?
Well, I think the biggest thing is knowing that whoever comes in is more ready is going to get that playing time. And that's the number one thing, is whoever's coming in ready to go, whether the age doesn't matter. It's who's ready to compete, who's willing to work. And my job right now is to build, like I said, the relationship. And that's in this office. That's watching film with them. That's watching practice tape. That's why I'm so excited to get to June, is so that we can actually have some data on what they're doing on a daily basis. But really their job is to show us who should be on the floor. We're here to make them better. I think that they always prove themselves, and that's a natural thing that goes on, especially with Coach Musselman, because the practice does matter. What you do does matter on the practice floor, and what you do around campus matters, who you are, how hard you work. But really, it's being able to have the hard and easy conversations with them about, this is what you're doing well, this is what needs to improve. And as an assistant for coach, that's something that we really try to help him with.
Okay. Well, a follow-up question to that, Arkansas really had last season, freshmen played a big part in it. This year, maybe not as much freshman incoming one to this point. But you're talking about the in-state players that you've already started to understand how good it is in Arkansas. The next recruiting class has got a lot that Arkansas is after. How quickly, I saw that you hit the ground running over the weekend, making some connections with those guys. I know you can't speak in terms of specific players, but how's it going just in the first few days on, building these relationships?
Well, it's been fantastic. And I think everybody, in terms of the parents and the people that surround these young men, are really excited. The best part about it is the state here in Arkansas does have so much talent. It's our job to have a strong fence here and get it done. But again, it's been really seamless because they are excited about what we're doing. We're not coming off a tough season. We're coming off one of the best, in the past 25 years. And again, they want to be a part of that, and we want them to be a part of it. The biggest thing is, being on the national stage with people from this state, from young men and their families. I think that creates energy around the program, and we're doing everything we can to let them know how serious we are, how excited we are. The other thing too, you talked about freshmen and coming in. I guess we have freshmen returning now with the new rules, and Devo and these other guys that are freshmen again, I guess. So all these young men that are playing, they're going to have the longest careers in history, but we're really excited. And again, I think that in terms of social media and the people that surround, there's a real hot vibe about what's going on around the program.
Thanks, Gus.
Thank you.
Scotty Bordelon.
Hey, Coach, welcome to Arkansas. I'm curious which people or coaches along the way were kind of influential, in getting you into coaching and kind of shaping who you are as a coach.
Well, it's nice to meet you. And that's probably a tough question with me because I have a long rap sheet, if you've seen my bio. And again, I've been maybe a coach that's kind of taken a different path. I was not an NBA player. I was a Division II player. Do not ever look up film for me playing because it's ugly and bad to watch. I was not an athlete like we have over here at Arkansas, and a good player like that. But I was lucky. I played for one of the greatest high school coaches in America, and Frank Alaco. He was the McDonald's All-Americans coach. He was the National Coach of the Year. So my brother's now the head coach at my high school at De La Salle. So he's who got my start and really inspired me to want to lead men and be a servant leader. I work for some of the best coaches, and if I name their names, please, I'm going to be quick, but I worked for Rob Evans at Arizona State, who was, again, SEC National Coach of the Year at Ole Miss and went on to Arizona State. He gave me my start. I worked for Brooks Thompson at UTSA. I worked for Gary Stewart at UC Davis, Jim Les, who was a former NBA player at UC Davis, Ben Braun, who I alluded to earlier, obviously Coach Muss, again, and then Greg Klink at the Division II level, who's one of the best Division II coaches in the country. And then just recently with Dedrick Taylor, who had led Fullerton to an NCAA tournament. So I have a lot of coaches that I've been around. I will say this, I'll go back to Coach Musselman, and probably why I'm sitting in this office right now again, might have had the biggest influence in me in coaching of anybody. And I was a Division II head coach, and he took a chance on me for a program that was in some ways, a little bit like this on a lower level, I guess, that was in the spotlight, a top 25 team, and gave me a chance to be with him as a coach at Nevada. And again, I consider him one of the best mentors, friends that I've had in my entire life.
And you mentioned your brother at De La Salle. Do you come from a big basketball family?
Well, we're not tall, so we're not that big. We have two brothers. It's me and my brother, and it's a big basketball family. My brother was a great player, and again, he coaches at De La Salle. He's one of the best coaches in California. He has 100 wins in 4 years, and again, has been a college coach. I'll say it's a big family because my mom filmed every single game I ever played in, and so she has about stacks, and it's like a college video room in her garage. My dad was a doctor. So yes, we have a big basketball family. There's nothing that's talked about other than basketball. We're Bay Area natives. So obviously I watched Coach Musselman's teams. Coach Boykins over here, I watched him play live with my brother. I told him a story about watching him against the Raptors. I think it was in 2001 or 2002. And so, yes, we're a big basketball family. And again, now I think the crazy thing now is being a Razorback. My family's going nuts now. So you have the biggest fan following in California that you've ever had.
Bob, follow-up question.
Yeah, Gus, I know you had 13 assists. You hold the school record, so you must have been a pretty good player. Maybe you're selling yourself a little short there, but do you feel like, a lot of coaches, they specialize in defense or offense or coaching guards or big men or whatever. Well, what specific strengths do you think you bring to the staff here?
Well, I think the biggest strength is that I know Coach Musselman. I think that's a really big thing. I think that right now, if you ask me, hey, we're going to start practice in 10 minutes and we haven't practiced yet, I would know exactly what coach would want as I walked on the floor. When we were at Nevada, certain parts of defense I would take over. There's certain areas of offensively, and we work, that's the best part. We work with the bigs, we work with smaller guys, we work in between, we work with everybody. But I would say that, Bob, again, at Fullerton, I worked a little bit more on the offensive side of the ball. When I was at Nevada last year, it was more on the defensive side of the ball. So I've done both. I've been a head coach, but I would say that's my biggest part of it. And what I bring the most is, again, knowing how we go from drill to drill, how we operate, the expectation when we work somebody out in the off season, what do we want to get done, the work ethic that has to happen. I think that's really important. Because you could teach somebody to jump to the ball defensively. You could teach somebody how to take a charge, how we want to reverse the ball, how we want to pass the ball. But if you don't know the ins and outs and the technique, the verbiage, how we communicate, I don't think you can really coach them that well. So my biggest thing is coming in here, knowing what coach wants. And obviously I've already dove into their, video playbook that they have from last season and adding the new plays, and new wrinkles that they have. So I'll be dialed in and ready to go, Bob. And the 13 assists, I just got lucky. I was throwing the ball to a couple guys and made some shots that day. And again, they probably thought somebody that subbed in for me was me for a while too. I had a buddy that looked exactly like me. So they probably weren't all my assists anyway, Bob.
Okay. And then as far as your family, when are they going to be able to join you out here?
Well, my wife was here this weekend, and we were able to go out to dinner with Coach Musselman and Danielle. And they're, like I said, they're really close. She was out here looking for a home, so we think we found one. I'm keeping my fingers crossed, unless the market messes us up. But they'll be back out. Our kids get out of school June 15th. So right after that. And that's our thing. I want to dive into the community as soon as possible. And that's a big thing for us, is somewhere where we wanted to live and excited about living. And again, my wife is from California as well and went to UC Davis with me. And Fayetteville reminds her a lot of where she's from in Penryn, California, the rolling hills. So we couldn't be more excited. She grew up with horses, but I can't get a horse, Bob. We're not doing that. So we're really excited. They'll be out here as soon as possible, and couldn't be more fired up.
Well, you can probably buy a little bit more house out here than you can in Southern California with the same amount of money. And then, Kevin asked you about recruiting. Arkansas is obviously down an assistant right now. He's got 3 open scholarships. So I assume you've been working hard on that already.
Well, everybody is. My wife's 2 hours, I guess behind us or in front of us. And so she texted me this morning and said, "Why were you texting me so late?" And I said, well, we got a lot of work to do. Even though we have, a great foothold on what's going on with recruiting, and obviously our class right now that's coming in, we're really excited about, but it never ends. And again, we want to make sure that everybody knows that Arkansas in this region is number one for us. And we're not going to be outworked in terms of trying to keep everybody home.
And what you allude to your height? What is your height?
My height?
Yeah.
Well, I got a good pair of tennies on right now. If I'm wearing sandals, a little bit smaller. I'm about 5'11" and a half.
Okay, I'm just going to round up to 6 feet if that's okay.
Wow, I like that. That's what I wish they would have done on the program when I was playing.
Yeah. Oh, and then the high school coach you're referring to that Eric's sons played for, was that your high school coach you mentioned?
Well, Coach Musselman knows my high school coach well, Frank Alaco. And I don't know if you knew this, but Matthew Musselman and Michael Musselman, they went to Monte Vista High School. And that is my high school's rival, De La Salle. So we used to beat up on them. I don't want to say that in front of Coach, but we had some battles there. So we know each other well. Their coach at Monte Vista played against me. But the coach I was referring to is Chris Werlow, who is an AAU coach and somebody that has coached at the high school level as well.
Okay. Eric was an AAU coach between jobs out there. You know that?
I know that he had some good wins. I heard that his practice plans were more detailed than they are here at Arkansas for the 7th and 8th graders.
I guess he was the most overqualified AAU coach in the history of AAU coaches. But anyway,
he has a couple of good stories about that.
Okay. Well, hey, it's been really fun talking with you. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Bob.
Scotty, got a follow-up?
Yeah, Gus, do you feel like you and Eric share a bit of a unique connection because you guys have, kind of bounced around, had some experiences at some lower levels and kind of worked your way up, just kind of paid your dues in a way?
Yeah, I think, Scott, like for me, this opportunity, like I said, I didn't play at Arkansas. I didn't play at this level. In my path, as you see, I've coached at Division II. I was a Division II coach. I was an assistant. I've been a director of operations. I've been a GA. I've been everything. I've been the first, second, third associate head coach, whatever it is. And I think that when you go through that, when you get an opportunity like this, you walk in the office sometimes and you kind of throw some water on your face and you say, wow, this is awesome. I dreamt about being a part of something like this. And I felt that way in Nevada as well. And I feel like that even more here. And I think with Coach, he really appreciates every opportunity with going through the G League, the CBA, I guess, when he was there, and his different path, and then deciding to go to college basketball, and then his trajectory, how it's been, and so quickly. I know that he feels the same way. And again, we always go back to the NCAA tournament. When we made that Sweet 16 run, we essentially blacked out for 2 straight weeks where we were just like, what's going on here? But I look back to it, and again, we want to make some more memories like that and a lot more here for the fans and for our players, the student athletes, and the entire program. We want to add more banners.